News stories to share with you. First up this hour, a state of emergency in Southern California as another wildfire tears through the state, southern part of the state there. Tens of thousands of people have evacuated, dozens of homes destroyed. About 1,000 firefighters are working to contain that blaze, but the Saddle Ridge fire is only 13% contained at this point. One death reported, one firefighter injury as well, all being blamed on that fire. Let's get right to NBC's Sam Brock. He's in Northridge, California for us. Sam's been covering this growing fire. I know we spoke early today. What's the latest since we spoke about 5-6 hours ago?
Alex, good afternoon. I know you mentioned you're from Southern California. Just to give you a snapshot of how serious the conditions are in the state right now, the Office of the Governor just tweeted out that the CAL FIRE, which is the state's firefighting agency, has dealt with and put out 300 wildfires, and 300 fires, I should say, 39 wildfires just in the last 24 hours.
What?
Obviously, the Saddle Ridge fire far from put out. I know that is really hard information to digest there. They are, at this point, you said 13% contained. That has been upped slightly to 19% according to CAL FIRE, though LAFD, the Los Angeles Fire Department, hasn't confirmed that just yet. But that doesn't sound like a very big number, right? 13% to 19%. Part of the reason why is the fact that they were dealing with overnight terrain last night. And so when they're walking around, some of these camp crews with their shovels and trying to scoop away dirt and vegetation, the visibility isn't great. So we would expect to see those numbers continue to rise on the containment lines as the days go on. Let's talk right now about some damage and then more updates. First, damage. This house that I'm at right now is one of 31 in the fire zone here in Porter Ranch that was affected clearly by the flames over the last couple of days. This happened Thursday night into Friday morning. The people who live here, Alex, told me that they just had minutes between when they saw the flames coming down the canyon over here, and you see just how charred it is in the background, until they left their house, checked their cameras, in-house cameras, when they were on the road and saw that the patio here was totally engaged with flames. It is, as you can see, burned. There's furniture that's laying strewn all over the place. The flame shot up from where we are standing right now and onto the roof. This is very likely one of the 13 homes that we're told that is completely lost, 100% damaged. Some are between 10 and 50% damaged, but 24 in total. So that's a lay of the land right now. In terms of where we stand with what LAFD is doing to get people back into their homes, repopulation is a word that you're going to hear a lot today. I am told from a phone conversation about 10 or 15 minutes ago with the fire department that they have already started the process of writing the repopulation message. The question becomes, when are they going to send it out and tell all of these people, tens of thousands of people, maybe as many as 100,000 people, when they can get back into their homes? And just as an indication, Alex, of just how many people are waiting, there were lines all over the parking lot last night to get a police escort for just 5 minutes to get in and see their home. So we're waiting to find out when those folks are actually going to be able to get back into their homes today, if they can, and of course keeping an eye on all the numbers.
Really great reporting, Sam, though heartbreaking as it is to hear it. Thank you so much, Sam Brock.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.